All right, well, good morning and welcome to everyone who is watching and following along with this edition of the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame's Hall Call interview series. As always, I'm Will Driscoll, the Executive Director here at the Hall of Fame, and I'm happy to bring you another exciting edition of Hall Call. But before we get started, I'd like to thank all of our Hall Call and Hall of Fame partners: Priority Automotive, the City of Virginia Beach, the Beck Foundation, Davcon Inc., Optima Health, White Claw Hard Seltzer, ESPN Radio 94.1, Hamilton Realty, and Davis Business Appraisers. We are able to bring you Hall Call because of partners like them. Well, we are just 11 days away from the 2023 induction. It seems like just yesterday we made the announcement back in November, but less than 2 weeks away from our 50th induction. And today we continue that discussion with one of our inductees, Ryan Zimmerman. Zimmerman starred for Kellam High School and the Tidewater Drillers program before an All-ACC career at the University of Virginia. He would become the first ever draft pick for the Washington Nationals after the franchise's move from Montreal. And he would continue the pipeline of talent from the 757 area code to Major League Baseball. In 16 seasons with the club, Zimmerman set franchise marks for hits, home runs, RBIs, and games played. Off the field, he has helped raise millions of dollars towards multiple sclerosis research through his ZIMS Foundation, and he was recently awarded the Power of Baseball Award by Washington Nationals Philanthropies. And whether you refer to him as Ryan, Zim, or Mr. National, we can soon add Virginia Sports Hall of Fame inductee to that list as well. So Ryan, thanks for taking some time to join us today.
Yeah, no problem. It's good to be here.
So this whole retirement thing is still fairly new to you. So what are you doing to pass the time these days?
Yeah, it's a little different. You know, we have 4 kids. Our youngest just turned 1 in January, so we stay busy. There's definitely never nothing to do around here. So it's been an interesting transition from doing baseball every single day for basically the last 25 plus years of my life to being home and starting to do dad stuff every day. I mean, I was lucky to be around a good amount. I mean, we traveled a lot during the season, but the off season I was around a bunch. But now being around every single day is it's a challenge, but it's fun, and I'm lucky to be able to be around my kids as much as I am.
I'm sure that they're very happy that you're home, and having one of my own, I know that their schedules can keep you busy, so I'm sure there's not a lot of downtime for you.
Yeah, definitely not a lot of downtime. There's something going on every single day.
That's right. In that downtime, that little bit of downtime, did you get a chance to watch the World Baseball Classic at all?
Yeah, I watched a little bit actually. It's such a cool event. I think it's cool to see people get excited about baseball and have something a little different where people are playing for their countries, and you wish there was a better time that they could have it, but there's really no other time besides right there in spring training. If you could do it when all the guys are kind of in mid-season form, I think it would make it even better. But as far as growing the game of baseball and, I think opening people's eyes to the many players that come from all over the globe and play baseball. And it's a fun tournament to watch, and the energy and the excitement. A couple of guys that I know went to some of the games and they said the atmosphere was incredible. So it's definitely something fun to watch, and I enjoy it every few years.
It was, you mentioned it, the energy and the passion, and it really just reminded fans of the game that it can be fun. It can be fun. And you mentioned maybe there's a different time, but do you think that there would ever be a time where the season would shut down, kind of like what the Olympics does for the NHL, for that 2 to 3 week period in the middle of the season when everybody's in form?
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to some people about it. I think it'd just be too hard for the people who don't play in the tournament. I mean, it's not really fair to the pitchers and position players, but more of the pitchers to say we're going to take 2 or 3 weeks off in the middle of the season. I think it would harm more people than it would help. So, I mean, that's what I was saying. It's just unfortunate there's really no other time to do it. If you do it after the playoffs are over, for the teams that aren't in the playoffs, those guys have been off for a month. So, I mean, it makes the most sense to do it when they do it. It's just, you wish somehow, I mean, I guess if the guys know they're playing in it, they take it upon themselves to be ready. But yeah, if you could do it right in the middle of the season, it'd be awesome. I just don't know if that's feasible.
Yeah, definitely difficult trying to shut the season down for a few weeks. And I think that, trying to make the best of, not a great situation prior to the season when everybody's in spring training is probably the best option there. Speaking more about kind of like how the game is shifting now, what's your reaction to the rule changes, and how would you react to pitch clocks, limited shift, bigger bases? Are these things that you're in favor of, or are they kind of out of sight, out of mind because you're no longer playing anymore?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I think a lot of people were kind of bent out of shape about these things when they first heard it, because everyone's so baseball is such a traditional sport. I think to a fault sometimes. I think we don't make changes that we should have made 5-10 years ago because everyone's afraid to mess with the traditions, and you can't change things where I think these changes make the game better. I mean, everyone was worried about the pitch clock and how it was going to ruin things, and I mean, and playing the games in 2.5 to 3 hours, I think, is a good thing. I mean, it speeds it up, but not to the point where it's like it doesn't speed it up so poorly that it seems like people are rushing. I mean, I've watched some games, and if you didn't see the clock, I don't think you'd really notice a difference. And I think as it goes on more, I really don't think you'll really see a change. But I think it just forces the action and gets people in the box or pitchers on the mound, and let's play baseball. We're here to play, and you don't need to stand out of the box for 45 seconds in between every pitch and take 7 deep breaths and get ready for the next one. Like, let's move on and let's go.
Yeah, and hopefully it's something that encourages more kids to watch. I know kids are out there playing, but I hearing from my son who's almost 10 and some of his friends, they would say that it's just not a fun game to watch. They love playing it, but it wasn't fun to watch. And hopefully that starts to change as you see more action on the base pass, the ball in play more. So hopefully these are all good things for the game. But kind of transitioning the conversation a little bit, you lent your voice recently to a chapter in the recent book, The Baseball Miracle of the Splendid Six and Townie Townsend. What do you remember most fondly from your youth baseball days with the Tidewater Drillers? As I mentioned, you're part of this pipeline that not a lot of other areas in the country can claim, but we have a great baseball tradition down here over the last quarter century in Hampton Roads.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I've said it a bunch. I think so many of us were lucky to just have great coaches at a young age. And I think you find that a lot down there in that Tidewater area. And, we were learning things, at age 9, 10, 11 that other people weren't learning till they got into high school or even college. So, I mean, to have that type of coaching and then to be able to play against the type of competition we did from such a young age, I think, those are the two most important things in youth sports. I mean, learning how to do things correctly and being taught the correct way to do things, and then implementing those against great competition. I mean, that's what grows a player and a person. And, we're so lucky to have what we had down there in Virginia Beach, and it seems to continue on. And, a lot of that credit needs to be given to, the coaches, which are just, moms and dads and people donating and giving their time. And, so I mean, I think when everyone asks me about that, I go right back to just the people that taught me how to play the game from a young age, and I couldn't be more grateful to them.
Is there a special camaraderie among the players that have come from this area? Not just the major league players, but even the upper level talent that made it through the minors and played top level college baseball. Is there that camaraderie amongst the 757 guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think, when we see each other, we definitely, we used to keep in touch a lot more as you get older and you have kids, and you kind of go your separate ways, and some people live in different parts of the country now. But yeah, I mean, I think we all will always have kind of that special bond of growing up and playing against each other. And, when you do something from the beginning, either with someone or against them, and then reach the pinnacle of whatever you do together, I mean, you'll always have that special kind of bond. And, we don't get to see each other or talk as much as we'd all like. But yeah, I mean, I think anytime we see each other, we kind of go right back to where we were.
Baseball is a stats driven game. So we always draw our eyes to the home runs, the RBIs, the batting average. But looking at your old scouting reports, the defensive aspect of your game was always there. What was that something that you prioritized at a young age, or was that kind of just something that came naturally? Your hands were always listed in the scouting report. What drove you to really focus on the defensive side of the game to make an impact?
Yeah, I mean, I think, a lot of that obviously is just ability that you're blessed with, I think, and then you take it upon yourself to work hard at it. I had the September birthday, but I was the youngest in my grade always. So I was kind of physically a little bit more immature than a lot of the people I was playing with in high school. And so like the offensive side, I could hit, but I didn't really hit for power. I didn't do any of that stuff. So I took it upon myself to try and, influence the game defensively, because that was something I could do. I was still like a year behind. I didn't really physically mature till that first year in college. But defense was always something that I could do. And it didn't matter if I was, the smallest guy, the biggest guy, it doesn't matter. If you can play defense, you can play defense. So I took a lot of pride in that. And, I think it helped my career tremendously because, I was so, worried about defense, and then finally my hitting came, and, then you kind of had the complete package. But, yeah, I took a lot of pride in my defense. Obviously my entire career I did as well. And, they always say defense doesn't go in slumps. You can, if you're having a bad day at the plate, you can influence the game on the other side of the field.
There's always value in stopping the other team from scoring, and no matter what sport you're playing. You mentioned your college. You're obviously wearing your alma mater shirt right there, UVA. What drew you to UVA for baseball? We know the success they've had the last 15 years, but prior to that, this isn't something that is generationally known as a historical baseball program. So, what drew you to UVA in the early 2000s?
Yeah, I mean, going back to how I was, not the most physically intimidating presence in high school. I wasn't that highly recruited out of high school. I had some good schools. I looked at, JMU, UNC Wilmington, UNC Charlotte, ODU, like those kind of schools, but none of the major conferences really were on me, I guess is the best way to put it. And then I went down to a tournament in Florida and had a decent tournament, in Virginia kind of took interest after they saw me play there. So, I love the school. It's a great school. I think, but the main thing was just being able to play in the ACC against the best talent. And, that was my kind of my only choice, or my only, ability to do that. So I thought, that's going to be the best option for me. And obviously it turned into a great decision. And I love, Charlottesville and the school. But it was just kind of happened by chance. And, I look back and, you always look back and think about, what if you didn't do this? What if that didn't happen? But I definitely think going there helped me, get to where I am today.
Talk about the influence that your coach at UVA, Dennis Womack, had on you. He ended his career at UVA just prior. He was the coach before Brian O'Connor, but he got you there, and that kind of started to put in motion a lot of the success that the program has had now. So just kind of talk about his influence on your career.
Yeah. Coach Womack was there for my first year. Obviously, they recruited me and got me in there. And like you said, a lot of people don't really know that UVA wasn't a baseball powerhouse like it has been for the last 20 years now. At one point in the late 90s, I believe they almost got rid of baseball at the University of Virginia and made it basically just a club sport. And, it was saved by a couple of generous anonymous donors. I mean, that's a different story. But, and then from there, my first year there, we had a really good team. I think we finished right at or a little bit under 500. We had some talented players. I mean, Mark Reynolds was on that team, a couple other Virginia Beach people. But we kind of had a good team there, and Womack did a great job getting us together. And then obviously that was his last year. And then Coach O'Connor came in for my second and third years. But yeah, Coach Womack, I think, sort of laid the framework for that group of guys. And then we sort of transitioned to have Coach O'Connor come in, say a younger, different type of voice. And from there, we just kind of took off. My years, we never really took that next step. We made it to regionals both years that Coach O'Connor was there. We had really good years. I want to say my second year, we were ranked as high as third or fourth in the country and had a really good year. And then after we left, obviously they've continued to ascend and win a national championship and basically be a part of that picture every year. So it's cool to see what they've become, and it's taken a lot of effort from a lot of different people to get that program to where it is today.
Yeah, we won't go into it here, but for anybody who's watching or listening to this, check out the tiered funding story about UVA athletics from the late 90s, early 2000s. And that kind of goes to how close the program was to, like you said, being bumped down to the club level. But following college, it's very well known, you were the first draft pick of the Nationals after they made the move from Montreal. But you also debuted in Major League Baseball that same year. What do you attribute your fast rise through the system to?
Well, I think, a lot of professional sports, any professional sport, but particularly baseball, comes down to being in the right place at the right time and having an opportunity. Once you have the opportunity, you have to take advantage of it and capitalize on it. Nothing's given to you at that level. But, I came into a really good situation, to a team that was coming down from Montreal to DC. So it was essentially, I say, like an expansion team pretty much. I mean, MLB was running the team for the first year or two. So it's not like they were going out and signing big name free agents. So, getting drafted by them, coming from college. So I'm already, 2 or 3 levels ahead from a lot of high school kids. So they felt comfortable kind of throwing me right into AA. And then that year I played well enough to kind of come up in September and just, they wanted to see what they had. And, like I said, just right place, right time. They had a third baseman in Vinny Castilla, who was a great player, but his contract was up at the end of the year. So they were kind of trying to decide, do we want to re-sign this guy, even though we're a team that's really not going to go many places in the next couple of years, or do we bring the young kid up and see if he can, handle it? And like I said, I was lucky to be in the right place, and they gave me a shot that September, and I did pretty well, and came into spring training next year with the ability to, earn the starting job, and from there I just kind of took it and ran with it.
I think 16 seasons shows that they made the right decision. You played on some really good Nationals teams, and obviously being here in Virginia, there's a lot of Nationals fans. They've really done a good job in building the fan base in such a short period of time. But it's hard to win a championship, and you played on some great teams in the 2010s. What did you learn as a player and as a team from the teams that had those early exits when you may have been expected to go a little bit further?
Yeah, I mean, I think exactly what you said. It's really hard to win a championship. I think, playoff baseball is a different animal. And, I think we didn't play bad baseball necessarily in those series that we lost. I think one year the Giants beat us pretty good. I think we a series where they kind of handled us. But, the other ones where we didn't quite get past that first round, it wasn't because we played bad baseball. We just couldn't break through. And I think, what you learn is the attention to detail in those playoff games. The little things are the most important things. And I think most importantly, what we learned is when you catch a break, or when you get some good luck, or, when the other team makes an error or they give you an extra out, you have to take advantage of those opportunities. And I think going through those failures and not doing that set us up to eventually obviously take advantage of them. But, the level of play in the playoffs is so high, and you're playing such good teams. It's really hard to win series. So I think, a lot of teams have to go through that and fail a little bit before they can kind of make it to the top.
Was there a noticeable difference on the team in the clubhouse between the approach of the 2019 team that ended up getting over the hump? Was there something different between that team and the other teams?
No, I think, we had a good mix of veteran guys who have been through a lot of that. And then honestly, like a great mix of young guys who hadn't been a part of that, but their energy, their youth, their, excitement, I think drew the best out of the veteran guys as well. And, not so much in the playoffs, but during the regular season, there's days, a Thursday day game after a Wednesday night game where, you're excited to play. I mean, we get to play baseball for our job, as I like to call it. But, there are days where you're dragging a little bit. And when you have a 20-year-old Juan Soto or Victor Robles that year, or, young guys like that, come in that morning and their energy is high, and, they almost challenge you to get to their level. So I think we had such a good mix of young, old guys. And once we got to the playoffs, I think, there was no panic. because a lot of us had been through it. Some guys haven't had won a World Series, so it was just like the perfect storm and the perfect chemistry. And I've said I really think that's the only group that could have done what we did. Start the season so poorly, but not panic, not turn on each other. We stuck together. I think other teams would have either thrown in the towel or just started to, not care anymore. And, that group stuck together, and obviously it turned into a pretty special season.
It gives hope to every team that starts the season 19-31 through 50 games.
That is correct. Yes. I wouldn't recommend it, but yeah, it can be done.
When you're going through the World Series and, you reach game 4 or now you're in game 5 where no team has won a home game, and then you get through the whole series and no team has won a home game. I think you could play the World Series 100 times, which they have, and that's never happened. Is that a topic of conversation in the clubhouse as you're going through the series? Like, what's going on here, and how do you guys continue to approach the game at that point?
Yeah, I mean, at some point it was kind of like, of course this is what's going to happen. This has been the craziest year with a crazy like group of guys. Like, why wouldn't this happen to us? It almost like made sense. And then a couple of people were saying it was karma for Houston, to go through what they went through. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about that, but for them to lose a World Series by not winning a game at home is one of those things where, because they had such an advantage at home for so long, for them to lose all 4 games at home was kind of ironic, I guess, is what some people were saying. But yeah, I mean, it was a crazy series. We go in there the first 2 games and beat Garrett Cole and Justin Verlander, which I don't think Garrett lost a game since like the end of May when we went in there and beat them. And we're flying home thinking, man, we're riding high, and then they come in and and take it to us for 3 straight games, and now we're going back having to win 2 straight, in their stadium to win it. So it was a wild ride, but obviously something I'll never forget.
In the 2015 World Series, I talked to both Michael Kadire and David Wright, and they played on the Mets team that made it to the series but didn't win. But you were on the same team as Daniel Hudson, another Virginia Beach guy and an ODU grad, and he got the final out. How exciting was it to be with somebody who's from the area? I know that he was traded during that season, so it's not like you were long-term teammates, but sharing that moment with another one of the 757 or Virginia guys.
Yeah, and Huddy was a little younger than me, but we grew up kind of knowing each other, and then obviously, I followed his career. He was a high draft pick, had some injuries, and came back from those injuries and sort of reinvented his career as a great relief pitcher. And he is one of the best guys you'll ever meet. I mean, it's fun when you get to share the field with people that kind of came from the same area and grew up doing the same things you did, but then to get to know him as as an adult, as a dad, as a team. I mean, that's why you play the game. I mean, that's why you do the things you do, to have teammates like him and to be able to share that excitement and that obviously that accomplishment with him was something that we every time we see each other we still talk about it.
Do you feel that you and your team that year were able to properly celebrate with the fans? I know that the next year, obviously, the season was disrupted by COVID, but have you guys had that opportunity to celebrate with the organization, with the fans, that 2019 championship?
Yeah, I mean, we were lucky enough to get in our parade and things like that, which was so cool for us, and I think more importantly for the city and the fan base. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of tough not being able to have that 2020 where you are the champs and you're playing and you're traveling around, and when you're the defending World Series champs, everyone wants to give you your best shot, and I think we didn't really get to experience that, which was unfortunate. Obviously, well, there's not much we could have done about it, but yeah, I mean, I think not being able to have that year after we won is something that I will always wonder, what would that have been like? And honestly, I think, that group of guys, and, obviously we started trading people and doing some things, and, there's no excuses. We didn't play good, but I think once you do that, and then to go to that next season and not have full stadiums, not have that type of adrenaline or that type of, you know, atmosphere when you step out on the field. I'm not saying that's what went wrong, but it was definitely one of those things that you wish you could have back.
Yeah, lots of what ifs there, but we got a few more questions here, and we'll pick up the energy a little bit more. But we keep referring to you as the Nationals all-time leader, but it is important to remember, and I've mentioned it a few times, that the Nationals were the Expos prior to the move to DC. So when you're the all-time leader in a category, it's across franchise history. So when you hear your name mentioned with the likes of Gary Carter, Tim Raines, Andre Dawson, and others, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, it's humbling, I think. I just grew up playing baseball. I love to play the game. Never once would have thought that this would have happened. You know, everyone says, oh, they play to become a big leaguer, all that. Like, I just played because I loved the game. I enjoyed it. And then as I got older, I realized that if I continued to work hard, maybe I could go to school and go to college and play baseball at college. And you think that's pretty cool. And that would be a heck of an accomplishment. And then from there, so you don't, at least for me, I never really thought this was what was going to happen. I just enjoyed every year and tried to get better and worked hard at it. And, I looked at it more just, I was having fun with a bunch of my friends and playing a game that we all loved. And, that's how I continued to think about it every year when I played in the big leagues. But, so to hear kind of all that stuff and, the records, the hits, all that. I mean, it's just something that happened because honestly, each year I just tried to do the best that I can. And I tried to prepare, and I thought I owed it to, the fans, my organization, to bust my butt and prepare and give myself the best chance to succeed for them. I felt a sense of responsibility that I'm getting to play this game that I love as my job and get paid to do it. Like, the least that I can do is do everything I can to be prepared. That way too, if I failed and didn't come through, or I had some bad years or things, at least I knew inside myself that I did everything that I could to succeed. And baseball's hard. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but yeah. So when you hear that stuff, like you said, Gary Carter, Andre Dawson, guys like that, I mean, those are guys I've watched on TV and, growing up when I was learning how to play the game. So to be, mentioned in the same sentence as them is very humbling.
Well, your approach on the field is certainly respected, and you see that through your the way that University of Virginia baseball and the Nationals organization still reveres you. But as I mentioned in the intro, you have also done quite a bit off the field, and you were recently awarded the Power of Baseball Award by Washington Nationals Philanthropies. But you were also the Nationals Roberto Clemente Award nominee 6 times during your career. Where do those honors rank in your personal record book?
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, being able to be in the same place as long as I was allowed me to be so involved in the community. I think a lot of guys aren't as fortunate because they kind of bounce around, and they still do great work and do things everywhere that they go, or, back in their hometown and things like that. But for me, playing so close to Virginia Beach, being able to kind of interconnect Virginia Beach and the DC, Northern Virginia area, for me was special. And honestly, very convenient. So, to be able to have the special relationship that I have with both of those communities, kind of, I say separately, but also together, is a unique situation that not many athletes are afforded. And I think I just did my best to take advantage of that and use my platform to do good things, and hopefully teach some of the young kids that came along to kind of give back. And that's what I was always taught. I mean, we're very lucky to be in the situation we're in and do everything you can to allow other people to have that opportunity.
One of those good things is the Zims Foundation, which you founded in 2006. And in that short period of time, you've helped raise over $4 million in the fight against MS. When you started Zims, could you have ever dreamed that it would turn into what it's done and the impact you've made?
Yeah, we had no idea what we were doing, to be honest with you. We literally, the off season after that September of 05, when I got called up, we kind of just sat in the living room and said, we should do something. We'd always talked about doing something. And now I had this amazing platform and opportunity to actually go for it and do it. So I mean, my family deserves most of the credit. My parents did so much work, pretty much all the work. My brother was huge in doing a lot of things. So, I mean, so many volunteers in that Virginia Beach area. So, I mean, we couldn't have done any of what we have built and what we have created. Is, they deserve most of the credit for that. But, at the end of the day too, we just had a good time. We enjoyed the events. We enjoyed doing the golf tournaments. We enjoyed doing the galas, at the Hilton and all that stuff. I think every year it was a lot of work, but it was one of those, like, the labor of love. And I think my mom really enjoyed calling everywhere and wearing them out until they gave us stuff for free. So, I think she took it as like a mission to get as much stuff for free for the auction. So it became something that we kind of did as a family. And obviously, because my mom has MS, it's near and dear to our heart. And we obviously have a personal connection to it. But then you start to meet other people that have MS, or my parents would go to like some retreats or help host retreats. And like, then you start to kind of create relationships through it and see people and learn, of other people's hardships. And, it becomes a part of your life. And I think, we kind of loved making those, relationships and helping as many people as we could. And, we've taken some time off because of the COVID stuff, which I think a lot of nonprofits sort of had to for the last 2 or 3 years. And Heather, my wife, and I are probably going to get things going again here soon. So we're looking forward to getting back into that, because it really is something that we love doing.
Well, as a 501c3 here at the Hall of Fame, I can appreciate your mom's approach to those calls.
She's a grinder, man. She was getting it. If they didn't want to give it for free, she was moving on.
That's right. Well, it's been fun kind of talking to you about your career on the field and off the field, and it's clear that you've made an impact anywhere you've gone, and we're looking forward to next weekend. We're very excited about you going into the Hall of Fame with the rest of the class of 2023, and so it's been a pleasure catching up with you today. And like I said, we're looking forward to next weekend, and I know a lot of other people are as well. So thanks for taking some time today.
Yeah, no problem. I'm looking forward to it as well. It's a huge honor, and it should be a really fun weekend.
We are looking forward to it. And I'd like to thank everyone who has tuned in or who will listen to this or watch this video following this interview. Be sure to stay up to date on all things Virginia Sports Hall of Fame and the Hall Call interview series by following our social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. You can also listen to the Hall Call podcast on Apple, Spotify, or SoundCloud. Join us tomorrow night at 6 p.m. for our next edition, where we'll catch up with 2023 inductee D'Angelo Hall. Once again, I'm Will Driscoll with the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame. The 2023 induction is just 11 days away. Whatever you do, participate, don't spectate, and we'll see you next time.